what are you most excited about for like women in chiropractic, or what are you maybe most hopeful about?
I think I'm super hopeful for like practices that aren't just like the one doc show. I We can feel that shift. I feel like all of us do, whether you're male or female, but having these like big teams, and then big can be four, but 10, whatever. But I'm excited about this shift in women in chiropractic because I feel like it's becoming this more like let's put our arms around each other and let's move it forward.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way. Welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. And today we're missing Dr. Bobby, but we have a great guest today. It's one of my good friends. She is in practice in Minnesota. It's probably freezing where she is because it's like negative 25 here today. But we have Dr. Rachel Hovey, and she is just a dynamo in practice. And I've known her for over a decade. So I am excited to say that this is probably our first time really announcing too that you will be coaching women at TRP in the seasons of launch and build and probably eventually scale too. So welcome, Dr. Rachel.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be part of this.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have another woman here too. As we're like starting this conversation of like what is the remarkable women tribe that we're building here. And if you were just with us when we were in Tampa, you probably saw the release of our breakfast that we had for the remarkable women. And it really formed out of some conversations behind the scenes between Dr. Rachel, Dr. Devin, myself, the male coaches, as well as obviously we have other women that have been coaching office managers and whatnot. And we realized like there is a conversation we need to have about some of the nuances of growing practices while you're juggling life of like having kids, nursing, trying to navigate maybe maternity leaves for some of your employees, all sorts of things that happen that I don't want to exclude the men from because they certainly can take paternity leave and all of those things, but there is some elements that are different. So, Dr. Rachel, what's on your heart when you just think about like helping women in practice?
Yeah, I think similar to like when we originally launched Remarkable Women, we just wanted to create another space, like not to be venting, not to be like, complaining with each other, but like, what did you guys do for this? And how did you help with this? And I think a big thing that you said too, when it comes to like being a mom or even just a female, there's so many different seasons of your practice, right? You can bust it out when you like want to have kids in the future and still be like planning for that. But then also you got to bust it out when you're pregnant and adjusting at 38 weeks, a full shift and things like that. So I'm excited about Remarkable Women because I feel like in practices similar to ours, where like we want to be super successful, we want to have this, but there's just not this like outlet of just being able to like learn from other people and learn from what they've done, and especially the female part of it, whether you are the owner or ops manager, CA, any of it.
That's so good. And you almost like sometimes forget all the chapters that you've went through in iterations. And I'm sure the men say this too, but to just like evolve into the capacity you have now, right? You think about, I'll say this to some of my clients that are maybe a little younger in their season than I am. Maybe they're having their first baby or they're opening their first practice and they were an associate before, where it's like you're developing that muscle of capacity. Like, and we all are developing muscles of capacity, right? So think about when you were in high school going to college or college to chiropractic school and lifting, your bench press is getting heavier, or you're, squatting more. Like essentially you're learning more capacity with the same amount of time, right? That's
Hmm.
leverage, right? Learning how to like, can I do more or can I use other people to help me get these things accomplished? So I know that's part of my heart for TRP in general is if I look at what's been accomplished since we began with TRP years ago, learning how to leverage my amazing team to more capacity has been a huge part of how we get the work done that we do. And Rachel, I'm sure you feel the same when you think about this chapter. You've just went through having kids. You have two kids of your own. Like, talk to me about how you learned to leverage. Like, how did you learn to let go of certain things so
Mm,
that you could have more work-life balance?
yeah. I think that's a great point is like learning to let some things go. And, when you are young in your career, you tend to make different choices and sacrifices, and especially when you don't have kids, right? That you wouldn't do now. But I think the biggest thing, my biggest leverage is creating a great and excellent team, like massively. Because when you have your team, like you, it just makes it so much easier. And like you have that with you. And I think that's just one thing I've learned to be like, okay, I have my team and also like trusting my team with all of that
Mhm.
too. Like
Right.
that 80-20 rule, right? Like if they get 80% of it done and it's gone and you move on and you move on and you move on and you move on and just let things keep rolling. So I think that is a big thing is just accepting what's happening and what's going on and knowing that like that's the right place with things too. I think that's huge. And when you become a mom or a parent and you're working and you're just like right now, I have a crazy dog working and my kid's home from school because it's -30 out. And you're
Yeah.
like, all right, we got to just do this and roll with it. Right. And
Right.
that's like the life of a
Adaptability. There we go.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we have to get our nervous systems checked regularly too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like the idea of like just nimbleness, right? And I use the word a lot, like, can we stay playful with what's happening so you don't get rolled up in the like tumble of all the things, right? We see that in practice where it's like when we're holding on too tightly to something, we're trying to control it all. It's hard to expand, it's hard to grow because you don't have the capacity for it. Same thing when we're trying to navigate our life that's expanding. Like maybe we're going from one kid to two kid or three kids. I have three stepdaughters and two of my own with my husband. And so I joke that like every other weekend is a little bit of a like, you never know what's going to happen. And I used to get beat up by it. Like it felt heavy. And then I realized I have to let go of trying to like conform things to the way that I think they should always be, as well as maybe this is happening for me, not to me, and I could just lighten my load, right? So a lot of it is mind shifts as
Mhm.
well as looking for like where can I just get better. So I always joke like some of my things that like this seems so simple, but like I remember when I bought my first Roomba and I was like, this thing makes me ridiculously happy. And like I think it's because I come home and my living room is like cleaner than when I left it. And it's stuff like that that I'm not saying the men can't appreciate. Of course they can. But for women, when we're like, okay, things are happening even on my to-do list at home without me being the one to do it,
Mhm.
like this is really good for our own internal sense of like I can keep this pace going, right? Like this actually is me on my journey of my mission and my purpose, not only being a mom but also in my trajectory for chiropractic and whatever version of chiropractic mission that I'm on. I think that we have to look at like which plates are we spinning and which one do we need to drop or hand off to someone else, right?
For sure. Absolutely. Hmm.
What are some of your things when you think back to so mine, I'll say a Roomba, Instagram or Instacart. I mean, not Instagram, Instacart, because I have my groceries delivered always, and having a cleaner that comes every week, and she actually volunteered herself to do our laundry, and I was like, God bless you, and she puts them away in everybody's drawers. Those were the three things that I don't think had I not realized that like am I more committed to being a martyr of doing all the things, or am I more committed to like having quality time with my family and not feeling like I have to be the person that does all of it? Those things were huge things for me at home. We could look at tons of things in the practice that I've had to let go of, but I'm just talking at home that allows me to feel like when I go home, I can be home. When I'm at practice, I can be at practice. It's like figuring out some of those things. When you think about that for you, Rachel, what are some of the things that have lightened your load?
I think, I mean, my brain kind of went in a couple of different capacities. Well, number one, like I do love a clean house, and so it's great to have like a house cleaner come in and same for you every single week, which is like super nice because I also got to the point where like when you're so busy for like 10 hours straight, like the last thing you want to do is like do that miscellaneous stuff. So like really am totally fine with like leveraging all of that now and like you said, like just let it go. So I can be home and present.
Mhm.
Another one too, like even getting clothes, the clothes delivery services, because like I hate shopping, like I hate it. And so if I can have somebody pick stuff out for me and get it delivered, then I never have to step foot in a store, and it's great because then it's
Yeah.
just like done. So that's my other favorite one. And then even just
What's your favorite delivery service?
I like Stitch Fix just because it's just super simple. That's
Mhm.
kind of an easy one, but
All
I've tried
right.
a lot of them actually.
Yeah, I like it.
And then like this sounds really basic, but actually having a set managed schedule. I
Mm.
for some reason I feel like men tend to be better at this than women.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just they can't multitask, but I'm just kidding. But I feel like as soon as I actually blocked out my schedule, even the simple things like literally like I'm folding laundry like this time, or I'm, answering emails at this time. Like it just having that set schedule so that you're not like at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday and you don't have patience. You're like, what should I do right now? Like I feel like I should do 17 things. So I think
Mhm.
that's another simple thing that can get very like overlooked, but also like underappreciated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, one more big question. What do you have like for your morning routine or ritual? Because before I ask you this question, I'm going to tell you for myself, but coming into motherhood and like being already in successful quote unquote practice, like our practice was doing well before I had kids. I had a more rigid morning routine than once I had kids. I actually had to give myself way more grace to have less of the ideal start to the day, especially if all the nursing moms and CEOs out there, like if you don't get sleep, you're not, like you can do it for a while, but at some point sleep becomes more important than a lot of things, right?
Hmm.
So I've had to relearn what I think of as like a really good start to my day. Like I'd love to hear what yours is.
So literally 3 months ago, I think we used to start adjusting at 7 a.m. And so I would literally get up, do my thing before anybody and leave by the time anybody was gone. And then like awesome, we're like, why are we adjusting that early and having these crazy, insane, like big blocks in our day and whatever? And so we just changed. So we started adjusting at 8. And I absolutely love it because
Mhm.
I get to get up, get ready, and then I have a whole half hour where like I'm helping the kids. That's 2 days a week. I mean, it's not much because other days I'm home, but it's
Mhm.
so nice to be like, oh, I can like say goodbye to them and give them a hug and help my husband with like breakfast and things like that, which it sounds simple, but like I absolutely love it. So my
Mhm.
routine is I get up before everybody and get myself ready, get my day ready. I'm not a morning worker outer. I'm a midday worker outer. That's like my
Mhm.
favorite. So I typically we'll just get up and get everything ready before that, and then I do love a devotional. So you have to read, and mine's only like a couple minutes. It's not super long, and about 10-15 minutes, and then getting ready and get going. So yeah.
And what I think is really good for everyone listening is okay, so I love that she says like I work out in the middle of the day. So maybe you're not the like 5 a.m. club worker outer. However, like you're prioritizing yourself at points in the day. And that's I think such a critical piece of like, as chiropractors and anyone that's listening that works with chiropractors is like hopefully you've learned that like life force moving through you is a very valuable thing. Like that's
Mhm.
what's keeping us going. That's what's the juice to make everything happen, right? And so many times we get so bogged down by the demands on us, whether that's again at our home life or in our professional life or a combination, that our life force starts to dim. And like that's only going to get clawed back by setting some of these boundaries with our time of like, this is non-negotiable. I need to be able to exercise every day and I need to have time to do a devotional or to do a meditation or to write in a journal and put my vision on paper because if we don't spell it out and we think, oh, I'll get to it, that gets harder and harder the more things are on you, right? So,
So true. Yep.
that's great. So when you,
Yep.
okay, all right, let's say that you have, you're talking to a woman who's like overwhelmed right now, and it's all the things. It's like wanting to go to practice, not feeling like they're home enough, like
Mhm.
kind of feeling this push pull between all the desires of like wanting to be there for their kids more, but also wanting the practice to go to the next level. Because that is a common thing I hear is like kind of this tug of war. Like, what would be some advice you would give her?
Yeah. Um, well, number one, and we talk about this in therapy constantly, but A players only. I mean, truthfully, 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 it can scale you double or it can pull you back double. And so I
Mhm.
think just making sure that is a big thing for you is having that. And then I know you and I were talking about even on our mastermind call the other day, but like having those systems in place, regardless if like you even have that person for that system, like making sure from like day one, you're setting yourself up to be able to handle like that goal. Because it's really easy to be like, not right now, not this. I'm focusing on that. I'm just going to do this type of thing. And once I get to that point, I'll do it. I think that's the biggest thing is making sure you are doing all of the easy stuff so that,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not, maybe it's not easy even. It's just like the little steps each day, but you're still
Right.
making sure you're taking all of the steps. And um, I think too is like, and we already know this if, having coaches. I mean, like simply putting that, like, I can't tell you how many times like I've reached out to you and you've like literally probably solved a problem that you took 6 months to figure out and you told me in a minute. Like, but like having those people that have been there to like guide you through it. Because
Right.
like as a mom that wants to just even maybe simply hire your first CA or your front desk, it's a lot and it's hard, but it doesn't have to take that much work and it can be something
Right.
you can implement and have that system for it.
That's such good advice. Like, whether we're talking about in our personal lives or in our professional lives, like being on an island is the hardest place to
Yeah.
be, right? So having a good support group around you and also the people that you ask your questions to make sure you actually would want their answer, meaning like when
Mm,
you
good point.
are asking someone like practice advice and their practice is at the same point as yours, like might not be the right person to ask the practice to, right? So like
Right.
doesn't mean they can't have valuable lessons to share, but like try to ask people who are a step or two ahead of you so that they can like speed up the curve for you, right? So
Sure.
same thing I think about like in birthing a child, like my midwife, my Karen, what's her name or is her name? Like I would follow that lady off a ledge probably because I was like, just tell me what to do. I'm trusting you more than I might be trusting myself right now, right? And she got me through it. And then the second time you come into it in like a completely different place because you've learned like
Mm.
I can do this and I can trust myself, right? And so practice not so different than birth in some ways, right? You're going to go through pains of contraction because you're progressing and like we don't develop that strength and that capacity without going through it, but you don't have to do it alone, right? So,
Right. How
mm,
many like female coaches do you hear like they feel like, or not, sorry, clients, and even probably males that feel like they're on that island? And
right.
what is your first step usually for them when you tell them that?
You know, on some level, I don't hear it as much as I used to because I think I'm around a lot of people who have gone out to seek
Sure.
out what they need. But it is one of those things that, on some level, I think you have to ask yourself if that's been true in other parts of your life, sometimes where you feel alienated or alone, you almost have to hear this and know, like, I can't let that be my excuse anymore because that's really what it is. It is an excuse to feel like you are cut off because is it easy to form relationships always that you trust? No, but we have to start somewhere by starting to get around other people and start to like just like building a practice. You have to start to know the people around you so that they can know what you're offering. The same is true in developing who your professional team would be, if you will, of like who's the right fit for me. I got to go out and see what's out there and not just stay on my island. So I think it's just like if that feels like it's truth to you that you feel alone in this journey of growing, then know that like getting to not only a practice management group might be a right choice, like come check us out at TRP, but also like your state organization and your local chiropractors and certainly in a post 2020 world, like finding your tribe of people that are probably easier to identify than ever, right? Like can just help you not feel alone in like this world that has so many interesting highs and lows right now, right? So
Sure.
really critical for our mental well-being as well as just in general, like building your practice. Don't do it in a vacuum, right? No one does it in a vacuum. And growing it, the other part of feeling alone is feeling like you don't have a team of A players, to your point, right? So
Mhm.
I think when you work with people that you genuinely desire to come to work with, then it never feels like you're really alone, right? You might be alone in the CEO seat, but that's why you have coaching and you get to talk to other CEOs or other people that are owner operators, right? So, a last maybe thought here is as you like look ahead for women in the profession, like what are you most excited about for like women in chiropractic or what are you maybe most hopeful about?
I think I'm super hopeful for like practices that aren't just like the one doc show.
Mhm.
I we can feel that shift. I feel like all of us do, whether you're male or female, but having these like big teams, and then big can be 4, but 10, whatever. But I'm excited about this shift in women in chiropractic because I feel like it's becoming this more like, let's put our arms around each other and let's move it forward. And
Mhm.
I know that's going to happen. I think these like solo practices are just going to start like fizzling a little bit. Um, and it's just really exciting because you and I know, like when you practice by yourself, it's hard. It's just different. And when you
Mhm.
have a team that you can, it just makes things so much more fun and so much more light, I think is the word I'm looking for. So I'm just
It's
excited
fun.
for the women to be able to just push forward. Again, in your office manager CA, you play just as much of that role with
For
it.
sure. Yeah, the entire team does really, right? Like it really is a linking of arms to like move the needle.
Mhm.
Which again, to the point we were just talking about, like helps you feel like I'm in it with more than just myself, right? Like we're all in this and we're all going to share in the winnings when we grow this practice together. And that feels really good. So I agree with you. I think the women are critical in this step, both again, you know, there could be men owners, it could be men associates, could be men employed as the assistants. Like that doesn't mean we're excluding them. I just think the women and like the energy of also like more of a an ease to practice. And what I mean by that is like less straight lines always isn't a bad thing, right? This is an
Right.
exciting thing. So, all right. Well, Dr. Rachel, I know everyone's going to be seeing you at the immersions and on more TRP things, but you also can watch for us. We're going to have more remarkable women events coming up, both at the immersions as well as online. So keep an eye out for that. And if they want to find you on social media, what's your Instagram handle?
Dr. Rachel Hovey. Mhm.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for spending a little time with us today, and I know I'll get to see you very soon.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.